Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Mondays. Wisdom of the Sages, Makeover Monday. Whatever you did last week, that's over. Today, we're going to recreate our life. We're not going to hold you to something you were in the past. We're not going to hold you to some script, some persona, some outfit you carried around last week. It's over. We get to, you don't like what you wore yesterday? You can reinvent yourself today. What do you think about that, Kastuba?
All right, go for it. What you going to do?
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't know. But okay, Kastuba, it's your last day in India. How does that feel? It's always a special feeling like, oh my, matter of fact, yeah. It's over. It's the end of the day where you are. What time is it in India?
It's like 4:30 here.
4:30, okay.
PM.
I'm a little sad for you.
I got them tomorrow morning too. I leave tomorrow morning. Yes, mixed feelings, Raghunath. Mixed feelings.
I bet.
You know, first of all, there's a whole relative time thing going on because like 2.5 weeks ago I was in Kerala, and that feels like that was a year ago.
Yeah, that happens.
And 10 days before that, I was in the Govardhan Eco Village, and that feels like that was about 3 years ago.
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things like you realize how everything is dreamlike in the material world. It's dreamlike. It feels like a dream. It seems so real, and then you realize, nope, it's gone. And our whole life is like that. Even people have been like married. You know, you're married to a person, and then you divorce, and then you think back about it. And when you're in the marriage, of course, this is the most real thing ever. You're sending each other text messages and emojis and winky emojis. And the next thing you know, you're looking back, you're like, it seems like a dream now. It was such an important. And the interesting thing is, it's also like that with our troubles and our tribulations. Like they seem so real when they're right in front of our face. And if you zoom out, it all becomes dreamlike. If you're going through something, I got news for you people. In 1 year, you're going to be like, I can't believe I was sweating that so big. It all worked out. Okay. There's a bigger plan. And I'm understanding now the bigger plan and perspective. Anyway, your chapter's over. Your Mayapur chapter is over.
Oh, not over yet. I still have some, I have one of the things that I like to do at the end, and haven't fully done it yet, but you want to go to certain people, certain places, and say goodbye, and get some blessings. So I want to go to Srila Prabhupada. I want to go to Prabhupada's room here in the Lotus building where he lived when he was here. Smart. I want to go visit Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Samadhi at the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Gaudiya Mutt. I want to visit the Samadhi. When I say Samadhi, that means the tomb, you could say, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and visit the Yoga Peeth, the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya. So all those places I need to go to still. But you know where I went today, Raghunath?
Where?
I went to the home of Kolavecha Sridhar.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Prayers there.
He was the famous, very, very poor but devotional
Very deep
devotee. I
devotion.
wonder who he was in Krishna's pastimes.
Oh, good question.
My guess, like Sudam the Brahmin or something. Like
Mm,
really poor, but he had these loving exchanges with Lord Chaitanya, and they always like
this-
sort of like teased. Lord Chaitanya always teased him, but he relished this teasing of
this
Lord
teasing.
Chaitanya in the same way that
Yeah.
gopis relish Krishna teasing him.
Yeah.
And so you went to that house.
And I also went to. I spent time my last day with the Ganga. I bathed here every day. That every full day I was here, 17 or 18 days.
Nice.
It was the time of the Ganga was really magic, and this whole time, the
Ever get
temple
in the
there is
Ganga and you feel
one of the
like
coolest temples in the world. You know, this little shack temple here on the bank of the Ganga. I mean, really
Yeah.
one of the most happening little spots. And
That's
just
cool.
being with the Ganga every day. Today, you know, I bathed there and I just sat and chanted rounds by the Ganga. And there's a person in that river, Raghunath, and she's divine.
You know what? You want to hear something crazy? My
Yeah.
9-year-old son, Tarun, said, he just out of the blue, he said, you know what I do every time I go into the shower? I chant the Ganga Stotram. He said this to me. I chant the Ganga Stotram, and then I drink the water.
He said he drank the water. He
Then
said
I
he
drink
drank
the
the
water.
water before he's chanted. He says he goes into the shower, he drinks the water, and then he chants the Ganga Stotram, and then drinks it again. And he says it tastes completely different.
That was pretty good, isn't it?
I like that.
I don't think
Yeah.
chanted Ganga
I heard
You-
Jayapataka Maharaj once say, like, if before your shower you chant like 3 times loudly, like Ganga, 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 then
Ganga enters. So that's
Ganga
that's what I told him. If he chants the Ganga Stotram, and he learned the Ganga Stotram because I used to teach it to the older kids. But when he was like 3, he would just listen in the back seat of the car. And then one day he's just spontaneously started chanting it. So I said, you chant that when you go into the shower, and the Ganga enters the shower. The Ganga enters the water.
Well,
Interesting.
In any case, I had a wonderful time with the Ganga. And yeah, I also had to say this. This trip, especially this leg in Mayapur, has been very special for me. And another really important reason, just my friend Tara. This person, generous, kind, humble, and above all, servant of everyone. We went to this. We rode our bikes to this faraway place yesterday. We're
You have a
coming
bicycle
back.
there? You have a bicycle?
I'm riding all over the place, man.
I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, and as we're coming back, we got closer to the main temple, and there's so much activity, so many people coming, going, pilgrims, and we saw a man walking on a long road, and it's the hot sun. He looked like he was a proper disciple, maybe like 70 years old or something like that. He was carrying a couple of heavy bags, and it was a little hard to see him walking down the road like that in the hot sun carrying those bags. Who knows how far? Wherever he's going, it's got to be a long walk because there's.
And did you offer to take the bags for him?
Tar stopped. He said I had to meet someone.
You're like, I'm a little busy,
No,
but Tara
and
will
said-
help
Tar
you.
said you go, and he just stopped and he helped that person. He never met that person in his life, but he couldn't. His heart couldn't take seeing this poor man walking under that condition. So he was about to stop and either put him on like a rickshaw and pay for it, or take the
Right.
bags himself. That's the kind of heart he has. That's,
Yeah.
and it's, everything's not about our accomplishments in life. It has a lot to, like, he's been generously saying, oh, wow, you're doing this, you're doing that, I'm doing nothing, like that. Really, it's not so much it's what it really is the state of our heart that's important, like who we're
Mhm.
becoming more than like
Mhm.
what we've achieved or something like that. Not that he hasn't achieved wonderful things, but
Sure.
I'm really touched and grateful, to have a friend like that. So it's been wonderful just spending time with him and others here too.
That's a nice way to look at things too. It's like people say, well, what do you get paid at that job? It's really not what they're paying you. It's what you're becoming at that job.
Right. Right.
What are you becoming?
right.
What are you becoming by doing that job?
Right.
That's what really, because that's got your
Becoming a
pay is going to
robot, I'm
end.
becoming an
What do you-
animal. I'm becoming-
sometimes
Yeah.
you become an animal at your job. I thought that was a good takeaway, but she disappeared somewhere. I don't know where.
Oh, I got a great takeaway. You want me to read it? You need help with that takeaway?
A takeaway? You mean it in nugget?
A nugget. Not takeaway. Nugget. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Here we go. You got the
She's
nugget
back.
lined up.
She's got some.
Why don't we check in and see what announcements Mara has?
Oh, I have an announcement
Okay.
first. The first announcement is Jiva G Life Coaching is doing a free webinar on what is the BRG. What are the 12 steps and how they relate? Some people are like, yeah, the BRG, yeah, the 12 steps. I don't get it. Well, guess what? You can get it now. And it's a talk, and then it's a Q&A, and you have to DM her, and she'll send you the link. DM on Instagram, Bhakti Recovery Group on Instagram, and she'll send you the Zoom link. Bhakti Recovery Group, and that's happening this Saturday on March 4th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. A webinar. It's like a seminar, but on the web.
On the web.
Mara,
I figured that out. You know, I
You're
managed to put that together.
You're a detective.
We also have Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today at 1.
Oh, can't hear you, Mary. See, every time we move that mic, it's just like
Man.
there's hardly any sound.
Bhakti, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's not great though.
All right, Bhakti Recovery Groups today at 1 and 2 p.m. Eastern time. And tomorrow
1 and 2
10 a.m.
p.m. Bhakti Recovery Group.
Tomorrow,
Okay.
10 a.m., Radha Dasi is teaching a asana class for our Patreon members.
Okay. Hey, what about tomorrow? You're doing the show without me? What's going on?
Tomorrow, the show without Kastuba. All squirrels all day. You come on down. It's
All right.
crazy, Raghu.
Okay. Nugget, Raghu. This is a mind blower. This
Okay.
is an interesting nugget.
Tell me. It's from Nick Cave.
Oh, you want me to read it, or are you going to read it?
Oh, okay. I can read it. It's from Nick
Okay.
Cave.
Yeah, I can't hear you so well now.
It's from Nick Cave. How about that?
There you go. Yeah.
Mare, what's going on here? Okay. Nick Cave. Nick Cave and the Seeds. Is that what his band was?
The Bad Seeds. He's a musician. I would say, I don't know how to categorize him, right? But he's a bit avant-garde in a sense.
I never listened to him. I never listened to Nick Cave.
I don't know his music really well, but from what I have picked up here and there, he seems to be like a true artist. You know, he's quite a lyricist. He's very unique. I'm impressed with him on the level of being an artist, although I don't know his stuff all that well. But I could tell from this nugget, he's a thinker. You know?
Yeah. Well, his son died in 2015.
And his son was just a teenager when he passed away. I think he was 15 years old. So that's a very hard thing to have to go through.
They say that's the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
Arthur's death literally changed everything for me. Absolutely everything. It made me a religious person. I'm not talking about being a traditional Christian. I'm not even talking about a belief in God necessarily. It made me a religious person in the sense that I felt on a profound level a deep inclusion in the human predicament and an understanding of our vulnerability and the sense that as individuals, we are, each of us, imperiled. Each life is precarious, and some of us understand it, and some of us don't. I became a person after my son died.
Okay, there's a lot we could say about that right there.
This whole
I don't know
thing
if we should get into
like
now.
a Bhagavatam purport here. The world
pretty
seemed to
hefty.
vibrate with a peculiar spiritual energy. I was genuinely surprised by how susceptible I became to a kind of magical thinking, how readily I dispensed that with every
That's better. You sound better now.
okay. How readily I dispensed that with that holy rational part of my mind, and how comforting it was to do so. Now, that may well be a tragedy for survival, and as such, a part of the ordinary mechanics of grief. But it is something...
a strategy, not a tragedy. Now, that may well be a strategy for survival.
Okay, and such a part of the ordinary mechanics of grief, but it is something that persists to this day. Perhaps it is a kind of delusion. I don't know, but if it is a necessary and benevolent one. Things happen in your life, terrible things, great obliterating events, where the need for spiritual consolation can be immense, and your sense of what is rational is less coherent, and can suddenly find itself on very shaky ground. I think of late, I've grown increasingly impatient with my own skepticism. Wow. That reminds me of the person who answered the question yesterday. Is like, I think that was Adrian, who says, I'm agnostic and I'm skeptical. And he's saying, I've grown increasingly impatient with my own skepticism. It
Right.
feels obtuse and counterproductive. It is, right? We were saying it doesn't give you pleasure or happiness or any state of mind in this life or the next life, right? It feels obtuse, counterproductive, something that's simply standing in the way of a better lived life. Ooh. Yeah. I love this world with all its joys and vast goodness, its civility and complete and utter lack of it, its brilliance and its absurdity. I love it all. And the people in it, all of them. I feel nothing but deep gratitude to be a part of this whole cosmic mess. I don't know how to exactly say this, and please don't misunderstand it. But since Arthur died, I have been able to step beyond the full force of the grief and experience a kind of joy that is entirely new to me. It was as if grief enlarged my heart in some way. I've experienced periods of happiness more than I have ever felt before, even though it was the most devastating thing to ever happen to me. This is Arthur's gift to me, one of the many. It is his munificence that made me a different person. I say all this with huge caution and a million caveats, but I also say it because there are those who may think there is no way back from the catastrophic event, that they will never laugh again. But there is, and they will. Wow.
Boom.
Well, it's great that he could interpret that, because some people just can't interpret that. Like, you could speak truth to people, you can read from the Bhagavatam and they just can't hear it for some reason. For whatever it was, he was ripe to hear this. And it doesn't make the pain go away, but it frames out life and death and tragedy and joy, etc., in a different way.
And as he said, it made his heart grow, right?
Yeah.
But I first of all, hearing this, I'm reminded of a time where Srila Prabhupada, there was a period where Shyamasundar Prabhu was meeting with Srila Prabhupada every day, and Shyamasundar was like presenting the teachings of a historic philosopher, right? Like the great philosophers. And Srila Prabhupada was responding to his presentation of those, and it was eventually put in a book called Dialectical Spiritualism, right?
Good book, if you want to check that out. It's a book about how philosophers, prominent Western thinkers, would go against Vedic thought. So they would say, well,
not entirely. Sometimes they were finding the parallels.
Well, I'm sorry, Sam. How would if you throw it against the sounding board of Vedic thought, what was Prabhupada's take on it? Yeah.
And so when that book was being put together and those conversations were going on that were recorded and put in the book, one of the devotees, young devotees, I was there, was Srila Prabhupada was asking. Prabhupada was speaking about how knowledge of things that are beyond, they have to descend to us, right? It's not like we figure them out through our speculation. Certain things we can't understand unless it's coming from someone that's there and experiencing it.
Yeah.
And so then this person said to Srila Prabhupada, do you mean to say that none of these great thinkers are God conscious? And Srila Prabhupada said this, and I've always found this very interesting. He said, their sincerity is their God consciousness. Okay. In other words, one's sincerity to understand the truth and respond to it without personal motive is a type of spiritual awareness or God consciousness, and I really feel that coming through this, where he went through a horrible tragedy, a very painful experience of losing his son. And the first thing it did was it gave him a deep, this is how he phrased it, right? He said, it made me religious on a profound level. And he said, I felt on a profound level a deep inclusion in the human predicament and an understanding of our vulnerability and the sense that as individuals, we are each of us imperiled. Each life is precarious. And some of us understand it and some don't. I became a person after my son died. So, in other words, what happened to him is when his son passed away, it sunk in on a very deep level. Look, at any moment, my entire existence is so precarious. At any moment, it can be gone in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we usually move around the world not unaware of that, right? Like, even though we know that it's true, we don't want our awareness to go there. We try to take our awareness away from that. But by going deep into that, it made him understand, in a sense, his own vulnerability, his own smallness. And in my sense is, it makes you understand that you're connected to something much bigger. Now he's saying that this thought may or may not be rational. Well, my point is, on either side, it could be irrational, but there's certainly something rational about understanding that if I'm very vulnerable, there must be something, or ultimately someone, that I'm vulnerable to. And, and to me, this really reminds me of the 11th chapter, text 32, where Krishna says, Kalosmi loka kasya krit, that I am time. Yeah, I'm time, the destroyer, the destroyer. If we don't know God as a person, then we know God through his power, and the most blunt power that God, the one that rocks us to our core, that we can't ignore, ultimately is death. Here's in the case of the death of a loved one. But in my reading of this, his sincerity is such that he was able to admit, I'm vulnerable, without resentment, right? And wanting to kind of go deep. He was saying that realization that there's something more powerful than me that I'm very vulnerable to, and I can accept it, he said it made the world seem to vibrate with a peculiar spiritual energy, right? And so I really appreciate that he's saying that event brought him to a deeper level of awareness. Now, I would say that your clarity on this would be jump-started by going to a text like Bhagavatam, where you can get all the background information.
Sure.
But that being said, through the depth of his sincerity, he's moving forward in a powerful way, and he's feeling something very real. As I read it, as I hear what he's saying, I'm impressed with him as a person.
Well, there's a fly on the window, and he's like banging on the window, trying to get out repeatedly. And sometimes, that by some good fortune, they fly away from the light into a darkness and get out the front door, which is actually wide open. It doesn't make any sense, but they have it clues them in. It's somehow Nick Cave had some good sense not to repeatedly kill him, because grief can kill you. People die when someone they love dies. Sometimes it just there's a I wonder what that phenomenon is. There's probably has a name for it. When someone you love dies, then you die.
Especially if it's a spouse,
or
a spouse or a twin.
A spouse, a twin. Never thought about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I know a couple people actually going through the loss of a child, and they are, and I feel like you can see no one can console them. So what is that? It's some, in the Bhagavad Gita, it also says there's, 4 types of people that surrender, 4 types of pious people that surrender to me. Is it a lack of piety? Is it some short-sightedness they have? What is that called? You find it?
It's called
heartbreak syndrome.
Heartbreak syndrome. We're Heartbreak Syndrome. It's a good name for a band right there.
It's a great name for an emo band.
Yeah.
Heartbreak Syndrome. But
people
anyway,
the stories are pouring in right now.
Here it comes.
My grandma died, and then her twin sister died a month later. My aunt's father died, and then her mother died 1 month later.
Yeah. Wow. So anyway, but why can some people learn from it, grow from it, have spiritual revelations from it, and some are just locked in, and it ends up killing them? And that's an interesting thing. So whatever it is, and maybe it's our evolution as beings.
It's shaking you one way or another. But here, it kind of woke him up to realizing stuff that he was unaware, that he was living in the midst of all along, but unaware of, you know, and now he's feeling gratitude towards his son, you know, and that idea that, you know, the way that he ended it by saying that, you know, people go through these really difficult tests in life, catastrophic events, and they think they'll never laugh again, you know, but, or how did he say it? He says,
but they will, or they might.
he said, yeah, those, they think there's no way back from the catastrophic event, that they will never laugh again, but there is, and they will, you know, what to speak of if on a daily basis you're meditating on, you're reflecting on teachings of transcendence, solid teachings, consistent teachings, teachings that have been handed down for century after century after century, put to the test,
that we
you know,
don't die.
yeah, when you have that with you, then you imagine the empowerment that you have. Here's an intelligent, sensitive man going through a catastrophic event and on his own kind of moving in a powerfully and forward in a direction towards self-realization. But
And it's
imagine
not,
if you have the advantage of having the text that explain in detail, and you're meditating on them and thinking about them and reflecting on them on a daily basis, how prepared you are to make the best out of all of that life has to throw at you.
and there's a difference between this philosophy and stoicism, where you just say, you know what, deal with it. It's over.
Right.
Get over it. You know, don't be so attached in the mind. It's not that.
It's stoicism on steroids in the sense that
it's actually, no, you, with great love, this person, you understand that this person is being lovingly cared for and brought to their next incarnation of their growth. And it's not just
so not
cutting
only
off
can
your
not
emotions.
only can you survive, you can thrive. The stoicism is like you can survive, right?
and it
but
should
this is you thrive.
And bhakti is not only that, but you should be inspired to keep going and to assist other people in this life, because that life will end soon too. We should be more and more inspired by this. Yeah, it's tough to say, and you know, but I will say in my own life, when my father died, when I was just getting into bhakti, it was like I at least had some like hand grips to hold on to, like in the subway.
It came just at the right time in your life.
It came right at the right time to hold on to something as my world started shaking, and it gave me, because otherwise you can just get lost into like, this makes no sense, and that can spin out of control, and then why me, and why did this happen? And people will stay with that why maybe for 30 years or 40 years.
Right, Nick Cave.
All right. Happy.
Did you come up with anything more on heartbreak syndrome over there, Mara?
Okay, Mara.
Okay, she's got to move towards the mic. I think that's the best way.
It's also called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy.
Okay. Yes,
And
of course.
And of course. But it's actually a temporary heart condition.
Okay.
So it has symptoms like those having a heart attack, but
palpitations.
Also, yeah.
Interesting. It's connected to the heart. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before he started the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtaki, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee. All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmadatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. The more I go on with this life, Kastuba, the more and more this becomes real.
It's clicking.
It's not like as I'm getting more into it, I was like, wait a second, this isn't real. It's like, this is real. Every year it gets more and more real.
I'm with you.
I get more and more faith in this.
I'm with you.
And you know what helps? Nityam Bhagavat, hearing it every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Let's hear it.
Okay. Text 29.
So, yeah, now we have Rishabhadev, Vishnu incarnation, having completed his message to his sons, is walking off. And he's living like an avadut, right?
Avadut means sort of like spiritual person out of this world.
He looks like a madman. He's naked. He's got disheveled
mad,
hair.
They look crazy. No, they're actually completely sober and sane. Don't judge.
They're out there.
Don't judge. You don't know who you're dealing with.
Yep.
Hmm?
Yep.
After accepting the feature of avadut, a great saintly person without material cares, Lord Rishabhadev passed through human society like a blind, deaf, and dumb man, an idle stone, a ghost or a madman. That's how he appeared. To those uninformed, you're like, okay, here's this crazy homeless
like
guy walking around. That's what he seems like.
Imagine you walk past a guy and he's just not even blinking. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
just
I think
sitting there like a
safe to
stone
say
all
we've
day.
all walked by somebody like that. They're just sort of like, but we don't understand where necessarily these people are at. So that's how he appeared to the common man.
Okay.
Rishabhadev began to tour through cities, villages, mines. That's weird. He toured through a mine.
Yeah.
Let's check out this mine. Countrysides, valleys.
Hold on, by the way, I got to warn you. Some far out stuff that you shouldn't try at home. We're going to hear some far out stuff about Rishabhadev. We'll get there.
Far out stuff?
Yeah.
All right, so he's just
basically
he's wandering. Cities, villages, mines, countrysides, valleys, gardens,
cow pens,
military camps, cow pens. Right, so basically you could find this guy anywhere, walking around anywhere.
You could find him anywhere.
The homes of cowherd men. Hello. Transient hotels, hills, forests, and hermitages. Wherever he traveled, all bad elements surrounded him. Just like flies surround the body of an elephant coming from the forest.
By the way, I don't think we've given the text. We're in Canto 5. Canto 5, Chapter 5. We're reading text 30. Okay, it's going to get worse.
He was always being threatened, beaten, urinated upon, spat upon, right? Sometimes if there's like a guy, for example, I saw this guy at the gas station. I was picking up my son late at night at the airport. I had to get gas. And there was a guy just standing there, sort of like this, I was like, is this guy crazy? And he came up to me and he wanted money. And, he wasn't, I was like, okay, am I going to have to fight this guy? You never know what you're getting into.
Give him a little money.
I was just like, and I didn't have any cash on me anyway. And it was like midnight. I didn't want to break out a wallet anyway. So it was just like a weird situation that could have been.
Did you have cash or not?
I didn't have cash. I did not have cash.
Why would you have to?
But I don't like to whip out cash at midnight to
even
a person that looks like they're on drugs.
Gotcha.
So my point is, like, if I was like a crazy violent guy, this could be a whole threatening situation. You know what I mean? And so here he's saying people like abused him. They spat upon him. Like, imagine if he was like walking in your front. In America, we don't like this. People just walking on your front lawn. Like, imagine a guy that is like walking on your front lawn and you have children. But get out of here. What do you want? And he's just not responding to you. So here's what's going on. People are beating him. They're urinating him. They're messing with him. They spit on him. Some people threw stones. Some people threw stool at him or dust at him. That probably means like dirt. And sometimes people passed foul air before him.
Very insulting.
That is very insulting. And the interesting thing is, he's not like this. He's actually a very evolved being. Thus, people called him many bad names and gave him a great deal of trouble. But he did not care about this, for he understood that the body is simply meant for such an end. He was already over his body. He was situated on that spiritual platform and being in his spiritual glory. He did not care for all these material insults. In other words, he completely understood that matter and spirit are separate, and he had no bodily conception. Thus, without being angry at anyone, so he was not even offended, he walked through the entire world alone, just sort of detached.
Okay.
Didn't care what people thought about him.
Let's hear more about him.
Lord Rishabhadev's hands, feet, and chest were very long. His shoulders, face, and limbs were all very delicate and symmetrically proportioned. So he sort of was beautiful underneath all
Yeah,
this.
very beautiful. It's Lord
His
Vishnu,
mouth
after
was
all.
beautifully decorated. Decorated. Is that a bird in the background?
Yeah, there's birds. You can hear them.
Sounds very beautiful.
It is.
Mara's got this thing in her car that makes beautiful bird noises. It's sort of like a background noise. Sounds like that.
Okay.
His mouth was very beautifully decorated with his natural smile, and he appeared all the more lovely with his reddish eyes, spread wide like the petals of a newly grown lotus flower, covered with dew in the early morning. The
Wow.
irises of his eyes were so pleasing that they removed all the troubles of everyone who saw him.
There
His
must have been some
forehead,
people that were relating to him like with appreciation and gratitude and kindness,
Hmm.
although others clearly were not.
And all of his other features were very beautiful. Right? Sometimes you see people like this who look like destitute, but like, I could imagine that this person was a good-looking, healthy, beautiful person. His gentle smile always made his face beautiful, so much so that even attracted the hearts of married women. It was as though they had been pierced by arrows of Cupid. About his head was an abundance of curly, matted brown hair. His hair was disheveled because his body was dirty and not taken care of. He appeared as if he were haunted by a ghost.
Okay.
I've seen people like that.
Mhm.
When Lord
Now,
Rishabhadev saw...
I want to warn you. This next text is.
You give me a trigger warning?
Yeah, I'm giving you one right now.
So I tend to get triggered easily, Kastuba. When Lord Rishabhadev saw the general populace was very antagonistic to his execution of mystic yoga, he accepted the behavior of a python in order to counteract their opposition. Thus, he
What does
stayed
that
in
mean?
one.
What's
A
the
python
thing?
doesn't move; he just stays in one place. And then when an animal comes to him, they quickly wrap themselves around the animal and eat the animal. So that means they're not going here and there for their livelihood. They're just sitting there, and when something comes, it comes. If nothing comes, they're not eating.
So it's an extreme form of renunciation. Like, in other words, it's a big renunciation to say, like, I'm going to live by begging, right? I'm going to go door to door every day. I'm going to knock on 3 doors, and whatever I get, that's what I'm going to eat. Like, that's renounce.
That's tough.
But it's even more renounce to say, I'm not even going to move from this spot.
From this
God
spot,
sends
I'm just going to
food,
sit right at this spot.
Yeah. If God sends some food, then I'll have something to eat. If God chooses not to send any food this way, then I go hungry. I'm going to live like the python. So everything about him is very extreme right now, and it's going to get even more extreme in a moment.
And it's extreme because they're sort of not on the bodily platform whatsoever. Do not try this at home. Do not be like, I want to be a python for a week. No, don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't
do that. When Lord Rishabhadev saw the general populace was antagonistic of his execution of mystic yoga, he accepted the behavior of python in order to counteract their opposition. Thus, he stayed in one place and lay down. While lying down, he ate and drank, and he passed stool and urine and rolled in it. What?
That's what I'm talking about.
Meaning he's just sort of like, yes, okay. He smeared his whole body with his own stool and urine. What? So that opposing elements might not come to disturb him. So
we'll move on to the next.
I get that.
It helps clarify it a bit in the next verse. Keep going.
Because Lord Rishabhadev remained in that condition, the public did not disturb him, but no bad aroma emanated from his stool and urine. Quite the contrary. His stool and urine was so aromatic that they filled 80 miles of the countryside with pleasant fragrances.
So that makes it a little easier to bear than the last.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. But let's just picture, someone that's so. India has these kind of things, like horis, different things like that. That in a very intense way, they're trying to break the program norms of society by just taking everything and turning it completely upside down, right?
The outside world all thinks of this is normal. I'll do the most abnormal thing
there
ever.
Is no good and bad there, and just like pushing it to the max, right? So I think a lot of that kind of stuff is born from Lord Rishabhadev, even.
I mean, a lot of this stuff in India. I mean, we live in an Orthodox Vaishnava world.
Clean.
We're very into cleaning and cutting our hair and shaving the face and eating with our right hand, and the food has to be cooked in this way. But sometimes the whole idea in their spiritual practice is the body's temporary. It's a piece of meat. It's not me. The whole concept of covering yourself with ashes from the crematorium. Like,
Yeah.
who thinks like that?
You're pushing it. You're pushing
You're
it.
pushing it.
Pushing the envelope.
I'm not going to eat anymore, or I'm just going to eat. I don't care what I eat. I eat whatever comes to me. Yeah. I'm going to walk around. How about the nuggets? I'm going to walk around with a chain belt. That was sort of from the hardcore scene too. A chain belt and a loincloth, and that's all I'm going to wear. I'm just going to walk around naked and let my hair grow out. Imagine if that was our thing in Wisdom of the Sages. And every time someone signs on Zoom, would be like, "Oh, look, it's Harshal Galore, naked again." Samantha Simpson, Elle, and Robert Deedle. Yep, naked, hair's growing out long. Sorry, I put that in everybody's mind to see now. Name names, but that's the point. This is not that, but that is part of the entire Vedic culture. There's ways to deal with our external sense of self to try to get to the internal sense of self.
Generally, what we try to do is elevate ourselves to sattva guna, right? Wherein or the mind becomes more lucid. What this practice of yoga doing, and it's a very rare form, of practice. It's not practiced by too many people, embraced. But here the idea is that if there's truth in the idea that this world is illusory, then in one sense there's no good or bad, right? Like if I have a house inside a virtual reality, is it a good house or a bad house? Well, it's not even a house, right? It's a virtual reality. It's a reflection of a house. It has no meaning. So in one sense, there's no good or bad within that realm. And so they're living in this world with that kind of conviction, and they're pushing the envelope by turning everything upside down.
Right.
So where people want cleanliness, they're just flipping it. Okay.
Flip it.
Text 34.
Text 34. In this way, Lord Rishabhadev followed the behavior of cows, deer, and crows. Sometimes he moved or walked, and sometimes he sat down in one place. Sometimes he laid.
Yeah.
A second.
What do? You lost your page?
Wait. Sorry.
Technical difficulties over here.
In this way, Lord Rishabhadev followed the behavior of cows, deer, crows. Sometimes he moved or walked, and sometimes he sat down in one place. Sometimes he lay down, behaving exactly like cows, deer, and crows. And in that way, he ate, drank, passed stool and urine, and cheated the people in this way. Right? He cheated them because
he was Lord Vishnu, or he was a great saint, but he didn't appear to be. Nobody could determine that by looking at him. Yeah. Okay, this is the last verse of this chapter, text 35.
Just to show all the yogis the mystic process, Lord Rishabhadev, the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna, performed wonderful activities. Actually, he was the master of liberation, and he was fully absorbed in transcendental bliss, which increased 1,000-fold. Lord Krishna Vasudev, the son of Vasudev, is the original source of Lord Rishabhadev. There is
Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. Right?
Yeah, that's what Vasudev means. The son of Vasudev. The son of Vasudev. The long A means
the son.
That's the long A is the son of the short A. Vasudev is the short A.
That's right.
He is the original source of Lord Rishabhadev. There you have it right there. So Krishna, the original.
Yeah.
There is no difference in their constitution, and consequently, Lord Rishabhadev's awakened the loving symptoms of crying, laughing, and shivering. He was always absorbed in transcendental love, and due to this, all mystic powers automatically approached him, such as the ability to travel in outer space.
Here we go.
At the speed of the mind, to appear and disappear. I want to learn that. To enter the bodies of others. What? And to see things far away. But I wonder what that is. I wonder if that's like Shakti Avesh avatar. You get the Shakti. You get the Shakti of the Lord to enter your body. God enters your body.
No, well, it's just like you're plugged into equipment within your own body, and you can experience through that body. But what if I could just plug right into your body too? You know, just like someone hacks your computer. You know, just like I get right in there, and now I'm
No, but
picking up all the data. Right?
I mean, I get that, but I'm just thinking about like
what you would do
what
if you
I do.
had that power.
Oh, God's in Roganoff again. Oh, God.
No, but why God? It could be anyone that's got the power.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll plug in your body, take control of the puppet machine.
Oh my God, what would that be like? You and I are not only
Roganoff's
like
possessed
talking
Kastuba
up
again.
like sharing a room or something like that, but like got you in my
Like
body
sharing
now.
a room. All right, that's the
Okay.
end of the chapter.
Oh, you didn't read? Did you read the whole thing?
Oh, there's one more line. Although he could do all this, he did not exercise these. What are you doing? Due to all this mystic powers, due to this, all mystic powers automatically approached him, such as the ability to travel in outer space at the speed of mind, and to appear and disappear, and to enter the bodies of others, and to see things far, far away. Although
Like
he could
I know
do
what's
all
going
this,
on over there. Yeah.
although he could do all this, he did not exercise these powers.
Okay. Commentary, Raghunath. You ready? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 19:149, it is said, very important verse, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ata Eva Shanta. Right? Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, Sakali, Ashanta, or Ashanta. Right? The word shant, so this verse means the Krishna Bhaktas, devotees of Krishna, the Bhakti yogis, they're nishkama. They're free of material desires.
They have
right?
no
And
kama. They have
they have
nishkama.
no kama. Nishkama. Therefore, Ata Eva Shanta. They're peaceful.
You want peace? You need no desires, right? That's a Buddhist concept. You want peace?
Yeah.
Everybody,
At least no material desires.
It's great. It's a great verse. Everyone's got a desire except the Krishna Bhakta. The Krishna Bhakta's desire is the desire to serve God. That's it. That sounds like a desire. It means you have nothing but whatever God's will is. Yeah.
Okay. Then Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi. Bhukti, we're talking about people that want material enjoyment.
I just want everything in this world. I want to go to Amazon. I just want to buy now, buy now, buy now.
Okay. And then Mukti, I want freedom from suffering in this world. I want to transcend it and become free. Just no more of this. No more. Sick of it all.
Sick of it all. Siddhi. How about Siddhi?
So now that's what we're reading about before. I can disappear. I can float. I can enter into the bodies of others, read minds.
We don't even know that exists. We're like, that doesn't exist. It exists. You can do it. You can get those things. My kid always says, Dad, when can I learn mystical powers? I said, you got to go to the Himalayas. It's going to take you at least 9 years. He goes,
sounds like he's already got the Ganga thing down.
He's got the
Ganga. You can make the Ganga appear just by chanting a mantra.
Yesterday we had a satsang and he goes, okay, everybody, I'm doing a fundraiser. I was like, what's the fundraiser for? He goes, well, it's for me. It's for I go, that's not a fundraiser. Me. That's a business.
That's called begging.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, all of these people, whether they want material things, whether they want freedom from suffering, Mukti, whether they want mystic perfections, that's the Karmi, the Gyani, the Yogi. Mm-hmm. They all have material. In one sense, it's all selfish desires. Sakala Ashanta. Therefore they don't have peace. The word Shanta, the word Shanta means completely peaceful. Unless all one's desires are fulfilled, one cannot be peaceful, right? You're hankering, you're disturbed. Everyone is trying to fulfill his aspirations and desires, be they material or spiritual. Those in the material world are Ashanta, without peace, because they have so many desires to fulfill. What a burden. The pure devotee, however, is without desire. Anyabilashita shunya. A pure devotee is completely free from all kinds of material desire. Karmis, on the other hand, are simply full of desires because they want to try to enjoy sense gratification. They're not peaceful in this life, nor in the next, during the past, present, or future. Similarly, Gyanis are always aspiring after liberation and trying to become one with the Supreme. Yogis, and this is speaking specifically about mystic yogis, people trying to develop powers through yogic practice. Yogis are aspiring after many siddhis or powers, anima, laghima, prapti, etc. However, a devotee is not at all interested in these things because they are fully dependent on the mercy of Krishna. Krishna is Yogeshvara, the possessor of all mystic powers or siddhis. He is Atmarama, fully self-satisfied. The yoga siddhis are described in this verse. One can fly in outer space without the aid of a machine, and he can travel at the speed of the mind. This means that as soon as the yogi desires to go somewhere within this universe or even beyond this universe, he can do so immediately. Teleportation,
like a drone.
Well, no, drones got to like travel like slowly there. This is like, boom, I'm there. It's like teleportation.
Yeah. It's like Star Trek.
Like Star Trek. Okay. One cannot estimate the speed of the mind. For within a second, the mind can go many millions of miles. Sometimes yogis enter into the bodies of other people and act as they desire when their bodies are not working properly. Like, I got a broken leg. Okay, I'm old. I'm going into a young body.
It'd be nice.
I mean,
Be nice.
when the body becomes old, a perfect yogi can find a young, able body. Giving up his old body, the yogi can enter into the young body and act as he pleases. Don't even have to take responsibility, because once the consequences come, you just zip out of there. Giving up his old body, the yogi can enter into the young body and act as he pleases. Being a plenary expansion of Lord Vasudeva, or Vishnu, Lord Rishabhadev possessed all these mystic yoga powers, but he was satisfied with his devotional love for Krishna, which was evinced by the ecstatic symptoms such as crying, laughing, and shivering. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Rishabhadev's Teachings to His Sons.
Alrighty.
You start the new channel. You start the new chapter tomorrow, Raghunath. You got 2 days to work on it without me.
All right. 2 days without Kastuba. Tuesday and Wednesday.
I'm coming
what
home.
will I do?
I'm coming home.
Coming home. Kastuba, safe travels, my brother. Here's some takeaways for you to think about
Now,
while
Mara,
journeying on your journey.
But before we get there, I just want to say, because Mara's handling the music now, those people, you don't always get the music, particularly at the beginning of the show, unless you're here on Zoom. But on this, what would be appropriate on the day that I'm come back there?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Is
The
that
welcome
what you're
back.
saying? He wants the welcome back
go.
Cotter theme song.
Yeah.
Europeans have no clue what we're talking about. It's a thing. Israelis, they have no clue. Who else? South America. They don't get welcome back Cotter.
All right, takeaways. Be like Tara, humble, kind, and of service to everyone.
Oh, that's nice.
Each life is precarious.
That's a
Yes.
great one. I think we say that a lot. Life is precarious.
Yeah.
It's not stable. Don't think
No.
you're stable.
Like a drop of water on a waxy lotus leaf.
Yeah, beating off and rolling down.
Boom.
Great loss and pain can transcend to great love.
Oh, yeah.
Be impatient with your own skepticism.
Yeah, yeah.
Be impatient. Doubt your doubts.
Opt in for magical thinking in this cosmic mess.
Mm-hmm.
Opt in. What was it? Say that again.
Opt in for magical thinking in this cosmic mess.
I like
Opt in.
that one. Opt in.
Let tragedy bring you deeper awareness and sincerity.
Easier said than done, but yes. Like it's sort of like a blessing. Let the tragedy grow you.
Okay.
Right?
Don't judge. You never know who you're dealing with.
Could be an avadut.
Don't judge. Don't listen to the band Judged.
No, that's not what it's saying.
The more you live, the more real it becomes. That's the Bhagavatam. The more real the Bhagavatam becomes.
Okay, gotcha.
Let serving God's will be your only desire.
Okay. And
Don't be like a python.
don't be like a python.
Well, why not
If you
be
can
like a
handle it.
python? If you can handle it, be a python.
You can handle it, but most of us can't handle it, so don't.
Yeah, most of us can't handle it. Just chant your
Chant
japa.
Hare Krishna.
Chant your japa. Don't defecate on yourself, please.
Okay.
Don't defecate. It's not worth it. It might not work. It might not work
Defecate,
for you.
Not on yourself.
I
or
can't
anyone else.
imagine Bobby Marchand and Urugaya and David Murray being pythons.
What about
Wake
Jeff
up early,
Eisenberg?
chant your japa. Take a shower. Take a shower. Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Do you think Jeff Eisenberg could do it? Python.
Jeff
style?
Eisenberg, you know, he could. I could see him as a Naga, just walking
Yeah,
around.
there you go. Yeah.